I'm not being against digitization of our records, of our information, because that is inevitable. It's going to
Right.
happen for
Of
sure.
course.
No one can stop it.
Of course.
Not today, not tomorrow, then day after, it is going to happen. But the thing is, if it happens in the way it is happening now, then it will be disastrous.
Hi guys, I'm Rohit and I would like to welcome you to the first interview by Barely Opinionated, a community where we share facts and promote discussion and dialogue for a more inclusive society. Do follow us if you like this and comment down below if you want to see more of this. Today we have with us a very special guest. He's an RTI activist and an investigative journalist who you probably would have seen in the news for his recent findings about the Aarogya Setu app. Saurav Das. Hi Saurav, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. To start off with, for our audience, I would like our audience to know more about what exactly is it that you do and how you started off doing this.
Right. So my name is Saurav Das. I am an independent journalist, just 21 years old, and I'm based in Pondicherry at the moment. I've been using the Right to Information Act, which is India's transparency law, since late 2017 when I was in college
Okay.
during my second year.
Oh, wow.
So since then, I've been, into all this, digging for stories and getting the stories out, which people should see.
Mhm.
So, and all that using India's transparency law. So I've been doing that since late 2017.
How old were you when you actually started, when you first
I
filed your
think
RTI?
I think I was 19.
Wow. I mean, at
Yeah.
19, I didn't even know. I don't think I even remember if I knew what an RTI was or what I could do with it. I want our audience to know how, what they actually can do with this particular RTI. Like, you would have had some motivation to actually to start using this particular RTI. Maybe you found some issue that you wanted to know about, or if this was basically your goal since the beginning.
So, I was a journalism student. I finished my journalism degree last year.
Oh, okay.
So in college, you don't have a lot of guidance from your teachers, but then few professors you do find who are who say who accept to guide you in,
Right,
because many professors they're not very keen on doing such things.
right.
So I was fortunate enough to find such professor. We were in Delhi. So
Hmm.
Delhi is the main political hub
Right.
of India, and there's JNU,
Hmm.
and JNU is Jawaharlal Nehru University. It's one of the most
Renowned.
talked about universities in India, and very controversial as well.
Correct.
So there were a few things going on. I mean, every day there's something going on in that university. But back in 2017, late 2017, when I first used RTI, it was due to JNU.
Okay.
I think there was some problem with reservation, and me and my friends had gone there to meet a few people through my other friends. And there, somebody told me, "Why don't you file an RTI? See what JNU says."
Hmm.
And then I already had RTI in my mind, but I never used it. So at
Okay.
that time, because we were chasing that story, I thought, okay, let's use this also. And then I found this to be an extremely useful tool, which not only for journalists, which is not only for journalists, but also for common citizens for their
Right.
personal problems as well.
Right.
Many people apply for passports. It may get stuck for months.
Hmm.
A passport which is supposed to come within 15-20 days
Hmm.
gets stuck for many months.
Right.
Maybe your ration cards, maybe your Aadhaar cards, or
Hmm.
anything, any sort of problem. Maybe anything to do with your government paperwork, right? Many of us have to do that. Bank work. So all these things, and then you have to go to them 100 times, come back and again go back to them 100 times. So
Yes.
instead of doing that, you can use RTI as a tool for them to effectively answer you and move that file.
Got it. So, just to clarify, is RTA applicable for all public units or is it just for governmental institutions? For example, are we also talking about the purview of public universities, schools, things like that, and public institutions, public companies, or is it just government institutions?
See, RTI can be used for anything where public fund goes to.
Okay,
So, say central universities, it's run by public fund.
right,
State universities are run by public funds.
right,
Government departments, nonetheless, and even NGOs where there's substantial funding of the government, say 50%, or if that NGO has gotten a land
mm-hmm.
in with a subsidy, right, different from what is its market rate,
Correct.
even that can come under RTI and are answerable under RTI. So, any of you guys who are watching this show are in a central university or a state university, you can always go after your administration using RTI for the right purposes, though. For the right
Yes, guys,
purposes.
remember this
Never
for the right
misuse the
purpose.
law. Yeah.
All right, that's great. So this particular RTI was what brought you to the public forum, like more to the public's eyes. But you have done a number of RTIs before, and which were very substantial for us. For example, there was something related to the coronavirus that you had put in the beginning, and if I'm not wrong, there was something related to the Pegasus software as well that you had played. And
That's right.
is there
Yeah.
any other particular RTI that you would want to put focus on for the person watching here?
I think most recently was this one in January of this year.
Mhm.
Many of us may remember that JNU and Jamia students were under attack by
Right.
masked goons and
Right.
also Delhi police.
Correct.
So, and the JNU administration is not so pro students as well. So they had filed two complaints, police complaints against students. So I filed an RTI under life and liberty, threat to life and liberty, for which information is to be given within 48 hours.
Okay.
So I used that RTI provision and filed an RTI, and within 2 days I received a response which showed that there are many discrepancies of what really happened, between what really happened and what the JNU administration claimed to have happened.
Oh,
So many lies were told in that police complaint. Things which didn't happen were told in that police complaint, based on which students were being harassed and may have been arrested. So that was one of my, a good RTI finding, I would say. And the JNU administration had to clarify
okay.
after that news broke.
I mean, I
So,
have all like when I actually got to know about that, even I was wondering what is happening. Like even now, I hardly see anything about it. Where if people have been caught, who were those goons? No information about the goons have been presented. So out of this particular RTI, I want to dig a little more on this. Out of this particular RTI, was there any outcome that could have that maybe led to something from the government, something that the government could have done to make better, or was it just that they gave you information and that was it?
they gave me the information, which, sort of demolished their claims against students.
Right.
And that was used in the Delhi High Court as well. My findings were
Oh,
used in the
okay,
Delhi High
okay,
Court as well.
okay,
So that was one impact that had happened due to
okay.
this RTI intervention.
Mm-hmm. All right, all right. So, last question on this particular thing. When do you expect the outcome of this particular thing, or what do you think is the outcome going to be for this? For this, because right now there have been no like such arrests made with
Yeah,
regards to the goons were or anything like that. So, what is the future for
yeah.
this?
I mean, in India, we don't have very robust judicial system, a very robust investigative system.
Mm-hmm.
Our police comes under political pressure very often, and they always run as per whims and fancies of the powers that be. So in this case, the stakes are very high.
Mm-hmm.
And you have seen how masked goons who entered JNU, one
Mm-hmm.
of them being Komal Sharma, has not been arrested till date. So there are bigger powers in play, and in such situation, the effectiveness of our system itself erodes.
Right.
So I mean, it's up to the courts what they do. The courts have been dragging. I mean, the courts take their own sweet time.
Okay.
Whatever can happen at the level of our judiciary, and we can just hope. Hope is all we have.
So let's move on to the your latest RTI, which is the Aarogya Setu app. Now we know that your findings out of that particular Aarogya Setu app was that the government does not have knowledge of the developers of this particular program. Now, what do you think
Yeah.
is going to be the outcome of this particular answer, and what does the future hold for Aarogya Setu app and for the government's discrepancy with this information?
See, this was one part of my investigation. The second part was for the Quint. So I'll talk about the first one. The
Yeah.
first one was on the creation of the app. So the government's officers during the hearing at the Central Information Commission, in my case, had said that we don't know.
Mhm.
They were pointing at each other when asked where is the file relating to
Okay.
the creation of this app. So now what has happened that the minister's office, the union minister's office has also confirmed is that the officers are going to be acted against,
Okay.
right?
That's
So
great.
they are taking action against the officers, but that is not it. That is not what we want. The officers don't act independently. They have
Right.
their superior officers, and a lot of approvals are to be taken. So whatever
Right.
they say, whatever they do is at the directions of their superior officers. Though, so
Mhm.
the big fish is there. The
Mhm.
small fish are caught now. So I can only hope that during the next hearing we get all the information that was requested. The ministry has also assured me that all the information I'll be getting, whatever I have asked for, including the
Oh,
creation of the
okay.
app
That's
and
great.
who all were involved. That's right.
That's.
And
Mhm.
the second one is about the government keeping our data safe that has been collected through the Aarogya Setu app.
Right.
That it hasn't done. So that is a bigger concern. It's a bigger cause of concern because when the government says they don't know who created the app, and secondly, they'd say we don't know how your data is being kept secure,
Right.
that in total
Mhm.
is a huge privacy concern, and people should be very worried about it.
Right, right. What I want to know is the data that they have collected. We know that the sort of data that they have collected is very intrusive, in the sense that they have
Yeah,
collected personal data is obviously there, that every social media platform we know that already is doing. But then they're collecting information beyond that, where they're collecting the your location, they are collecting who you are meeting and how long you are meeting them for, and things like that. But then what I want to understand from you as an RTI activist is that when the government collects this data, even if they are collecting this data and we find out that they have all of this data with them, the question again comes here is of national security and the personal privacy that they are implicating for the national security. Where do you draw the line between these two? How do we differentiate where we stop with national security and where we come to personal privacy?
see, the government and law enforcement agencies need to have access where there are concerns of national security. But then what we have seen in the past few years is the government abusing this very exemption, I would say.
Mhm.
So, for any matter, for anyone who's criticizing the government, as per their whims and fancies, again, they invoke national security and use laws that are archaic and disastrous for people's life and liberty. So the same thing will happen with our data as well, because also India does not have a data protection law.
Mhm.
So in such a situation, when the government says it does not know how our data is being kept secured, that just creates a lot of doubts about
Mhm.
how our data will be used, because eventually this data will be sold to data brokers who will use it for their private commercial interests and not for public's interest. And also the government has till date not said how effective Aarogya Setu app has been
Mhm.
for its intended purpose, right?
Mhm.
And also the data protection bill, Rohit, I'll tell you. The proposed personal data protection bill, which is undergoing scrutiny in Parliament,
Right.
is disastrous for persons' liberty.
Mhm.
The government, originally what was intended or what was recommended by Justice Sri Krishna committee, they had said this: the data can be accessed by law enforcement agencies based on three principles. Three principles were based on a Supreme Court judgment on right to privacy, where the court had held that right to privacy is a fundamental right. But
Okay.
the government removed those safeguards and said whenever there's a matter of national security, the government can allow its agencies to access all sorts of data
Okay.
of any person. So it is giving a legal sanction to illegal snooping. That is what I'll say.
All right.
So, and even the Aarogya Setu, right? It is just an experiment for a larger mechanism that is being created. That is of the National Digital Health Mission, the National Health Stack.
Right.
So all our data is going to be kept in a centralized system without any data protection laws in
Wow.
place.
Okay.
And that is just going to be like Aadhaar. In
All right.
2018, the
Yes.
world saw one of the biggest data privacy leaks,
Right.
data breaches in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing is going to happen with our health data now.
Okay.
Justice Sri Krishna had himself said that if the bill that is in its current form, as introduced in Parliament, is passed, it will turn India into an Orwellian state. It will be disastrous for the country. And those were his words.
One question that I have is that there were 160 million Indians that actually downloaded this app. How does it
Yeah.
happen that you were only one of the few people who was able to identify this particular issue, or were there more people and you were the first one to actually file this RTI? And like, what led you to actually filing this particular? How did this question come up?
I mean, I don't know if other people were there or not, because I know many media houses were trying to get this information out.
Oh,
But
okay.
it seems I managed somehow to get it, because
That's
it
great.
was not a simple task. It
Of
took
course.
me 3 to 4 months. This investigation took me 3 to 4 months. I had to file 10 to 12 RTIs. I had to, go for appeals. I had to go up till the commission. I had to request them for an urgent hearing, because, at the commission level, it takes almost 2 years for a case to come up for hearing. By then, I told them it's no use of you taking this case as well. So you better give me a urgent hearing, else our data will be at risk. And it is a matter of life and liberty, because right to privacy is born out of right to life and liberty,
Right.
which is a fundamental right.
Right.
So the commission obliged, thankfully, and
Mhm.
then a lot of pressure was created on these officers of the ministry,
Okay.
because I had separately complained to the union secretary against them. So it was a lot of effort that I had put in, and finally this had come out.
Right.
And many media houses tried it, but then they
I
couldn't.
mean,
Yeah.
it's really great that you, out of all people, were able to do this. Not only shows the fact that it's not about being a part of a big media house. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. Anyone can go ahead and do it, and you have that short amount of experience to be able to do that. Because I'm sure there will be many other, much more experience. You're just 21. You started this 2 years back. There'll be many more experienced people
Yeah.
who would have tried to dig into this, but they weren't able to, and you were able to. So, where do you go from this now? What is the future that holds for this particular RTI, and for you in general? Like, what are you filing any other particular RTI? Are you looking to dig into something else that we could probably pick up?
Yeah, several
Okay.
actually, because I work as an independent journalist, and this is my job, to
Mhm.
dig around to find stories which are otherwise hidden from public glare. And for this particular matter, Aarogya Setu, my case is now coming up on November 24th.
Okay.
So let's see what the government says, and then I'll have to separately challenge some of the answers that they have provided me. And I'm also now working a little bit on the National Digital Health Mission.
Right.
because that is more intrusive to our
Mm-hmm.
privacy. And one thing we should remember that, I'm not being against digitization of our records, of our information, because that is inevitable. It's going to
Right.
happen for
Of
sure.
course.
No one can stop it.
Of course.
Not today, not tomorrow, then day after, it is going to
Mhm.
happen. But the thing is, if it happens in the way it is happening now, then it will be disastrous. So
Yeah.
we have to shape the way. We have to shape the way it is going, because it's the data will eventually be not used for our personal interests. It will be
Mhm.
used for private interests.
Right.
I don't know how many of you would have watched Social Dilemma, how companies profile people and target them with ads. The same thing is going to happen with our health data. So it will again, it will be disastrous. So this is what one can do. Use the system that we are in, and just go on, fight the fight.
I would like to wish you all the luck for this particular case. We hope, really, really hope that you come out and get that win for this and for us, the general public. One last question
Thank
that
you.
one last question that I want to ask you is, what you have gotten this information and you are fighting your fight, and which is for the public in general. What can the public do, and what should the public keep in mind in general? What our viewer that is watching right now, that person, what does that person do with this data, or what does that person take away from this particular data that you have gotten, or the information that you have gotten?
First thing, people, possible for many people to file RTIs and fight the fight. What they can instead do is support people who fight the fight. Not just me.
Mhm.
I'm talking about any journalist. It's very difficult to do journalism in these days.
Right.
So people should support such people who bring out such stories, instead of looking at the story with an angle, with
Mhm.
a prejudiced mind, with the
Yeah.
stereotype. So that is one thing people can do. Number two, people should seek answers from their government,
Mhm.
because that is important. Without an accountable governance, will not go anywhere, because the state is always finding a way, to maximize their personal gains. So
Right.
people need to, people need to seek answers from their government, and one way of doing it is through RTI. And spread awareness about it, spread the correct news. When such things come out, people should also make sure that other people get this news, and take a fair, balanced viewpoint about the matter. Not just think, oh, it's anti Modi or anti Congress or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
Just think of it as a news that has come out, and which will be beneficial for them, right, in their personal interest.
Right. Makes sense. All right. Thank you so much, Saurav. Would you like to give any final comments to the viewer that is watching right now? Anything that you would want to add for them?
I would say just be an informed citizenry. Get to have that ownership, to have that culture of ownership, that you own the roads, you own the money that the government has, you own the institutions, and you defend them. So when that culture of owning comes in
Hmm.
our society, then the government automatically becomes accountable. So that is something our generation can do, and it has shown through SCA and RC protests. Most
Yes.
of them were youngsters, so
Yes.
it takes time for them to understand. But then they have to make a conscious decision, and everyday effort to keep themselves informed, and not see through an angle.
Right. Thank you so much. And to end it with to add on to what you have said, we in Barely Opinionated are aiming to do exactly that. We are looking to spread and share information and whatever facts that is available. And we want you to take that information and make your own opinions. Once you make that opinion, have discussions, have dialogue, have debates with other people who think otherwise, so that even you get to know what the other person thinks, what the different sides of a particular issue is, and you make your own judgment out of it. Instead of believing what you are seeing, and instead of just believing whatever you are getting, make your own conscious decisions, and that is what we want to promote through these facts. So do
You
follow
guys are doing
us.
a good job. Great
Thank
job.
you. Thank you, Saurav. Thank you so much. And please do follow us if you like this particular interview, and comment down. Make sure to comment down below if you want to see more of this, because this is just our first one. Thank you so much. Thank you, Saurav. Thank you so much.
Thank you.